I'm not calling you good guys. You thought I was their dad? By Galiza Overnight. A Batman Gen fanfic with additional tags for misunderstandings, based on a Tumblr post, crime boss Jason Todd, humor, attempt at humor, swearing, POV, outsider, good sibling Jason Todd, and Jason Todd is a Bat family member. Summary. Red Hood goons could agree on the fact their boss was a mysterious man, one who refused to talk about anything related to his life. They knew he had a good relationship with the Bats, but no one understood why or when that happened. Through a series of events, they finally realized the truth about such mystery. Or, Red Hood Mother Henning habits lead his goons to assume that he is a single father of 6 vigilantes. Yes, even Batman. If there exists a fact all Red Hood goons could agree on, it would be that their boss was a mysterious man. Not a big surprise, considering they were talking about a crime lord who took over the criminal underground in the most crime-ridden city in America. Everyone's still wondering how a dozen crazy folks managed to do enough crime to defeat cities with literal alien invasions. But he wasn't the kind of we know nothing about him mysterious. He was a I'm revealing all the pieces to the puzzle so you can solve it, but nothing is adding up mysterious. For starters, his relationship with the Bats was confusing, to say the least. During his first year as Red Hood, everyone knew the boss didn't like the Bats at all. Or the poor soul who dared break his no Bats in Crime Alley rule. However, nowadays, he does get along with them. Even with a fight here and there, some goons would even dare to say it looked like Hood was mother henning them. Although, no one actually considered him to be their actual father until a few days ago. It was the weekly reunion where the hiring commands informed Hood about significant changes, trades he didn't participate in, the itinerary, all the boring stuff. So, after the trade was done, we retreated to our nearest operation base in... Sebastian was interrupted by his boss's cell phone. Red Hood took out his phone and muttered something like, "The little shit," and answered with a very annoyed voice. "Sorry, I need to take a call." His whole demeanor changed, and his tone turned to one more tired and annoyed when he spoke to the person on the other end of the line. "This better be important, Red." Julie, the closest person to Hood, was capable of picking up some of the words the other person was saying. She was also capable of identifying the voice of said person. "To accidentally ruin the carpet is gonna kill me." "What the fuck do you mean you don't know how to wash a carpet?" Red Robin said something. "Spoiled brat. Listen, you first need to not panic, so none of the others know what's going on. Then you have to go down to the kitchen. Okay. Grab about 3 big pots of water at... No, the one in the back. Agent A never uses those." As he kept talking, the goons were freaking out more and more by the familiarity their boss had with the other person. It was almost as if the person was someone he cared about on a personal level. The other person eventually hung up, and finally everyone had time to process what they just witnessed. "Was that Red Robin?" Julie said, as calmly as she could, which wasn't much. "No comment." And Red Hood walked away, as if nothing had happened. From that day, the rumor of the Bats being Hood's children had gained popularity among his workers. It's not like their theory was that far off. After all, the few glances they had gotten of their boss's hair in the past showed a big stripe of white, so the Red Hood must be old, at least in his 50s or 60s. And at that age, one is capable of raising an army of children. Still, some didn't believe it completely, and they stood by their opinion when others asked. Goons like Alexander and Denise thought the others were exaggerating, or, at least, that was until another Bat appeared in their workplace. Robin arrived in the warehouse Alex and Denise were in charge of, while Hood was busy with a trade on the other side of the city. "I demand to see Hood. Kitty's not here, and I'm pretty sure he's not in the mood to receive visits." Alex was interrupted by a sword pointed at his throat. He held visual contact with his coworker, and Denise got the cue to call their boss. They had to wait around for 10 minutes before Red Hood entered through the main doors. Thank goodness he didn't break another window. He stopped in front of Robin. "Hard day?" Robin extended his arms upward in the universal sign for asking to be carried. "Okay, it's fine. Do you want to talk about it? Robin shook his head. Saying Alex and Denise were surprised would be an understatement. Their boss didn't talk in such a soft manner except to victims, and maybe coworkers when they got hurt on the field. Seeing him act in such a gentle way towards a Gotham vigilante, one who he had sworn to hate all those years ago, their expressions must have shown their surprise, since Hood turned to look at them. What are you doing here? Get back to work. Your shift isn't over yet. God, he really acted like a dad. As they got out, William received them with a "I told you so" expression. The news spread faster than a forest fire. The Red Hood had at least 2 kids who had become vigilantes. Not only that, but they somehow fell into Batman's mentorship, the #1 person in the world who was, and still is, against guns and murder. How ironic. Everyone had many questions. Who was the children's mother? Was she even in the picture? How had they turned into the enemy's territory? Why hadn't any of them heard about Hood's official children until now? But figuring out their boss's private life wasn't the priority right now, as an Arkham breakout took priority. Fortunately, only 3 rogues got out. Unfortunately, those 3 rogues were Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, and Scarecrow, who had decided to attack at the same time in different spots. After days of working in extra shifts and sacrificing sacred sleep, the Red Hood gang finally managed to do damage control in Crime Alley. Right now, they were celebrating, a party even Red Hood had agreed to attend, in celebration of their hard work and the fact that they could finally rest. How's Aiden doing, Bob? Robert Williams, called Bob by everyone, was the oldest worker in the place. Said man was always delighted when his boss asked about his children, like every proud father would be. He's doing fine, recently joined the basketball team, and is considering joining the cooking club. However, the party was interrupted when a young vigilante entered through the door. Kenneth, tonight's guard, ran right behind him. Boss, I promise, I tried to stop him, but the kid didn't stop and said it was urgent. Bob was confused, and judging by the look on his coworkers' faces, they were just as confused. Doesn't Signal work during the day? Yeah, he does. Hood glared at the yellow vigilante before asking him with severity, What are you doing here, kiddo? Tomorrow's a school day, and last time I checked, you don't have a fucked up sleep schedule like the rest of us. Yeah, we had a really busy week, and they kind of canceled classes, and teachers gave us a lot of homework. Red Hood was still glaring at him. I forgot the English homework, and you came here because... Signal seemed to not want to say the answer, but after a minute he gave up. I need help, ASAP. This is like 40% of my final note. You know Agent A and Batman will breathe down my neck if I have to repeat the year. What fucking teacher gives that note on homework? It's Miss Wood. Red Hood nodded, as if that was a reasonable answer. Okay, sorry guys, you'll have to finish without me. And you, kid, he hugged Signal by the shoulders. Don't think you're gonna get out of this one that easy. Bob identified the peak parent behavior right there, because only one would stay up all night and help their kids with missing homework. Although... Hey, kid! His boss and the boy both turned to look at him. What does your mom think about all this? I don't see my mom much these days. Oh, so maybe Hood had all his children with different mothers. And by the look of it, no mother was actually in the picture. Maybe only Hood took care of them, and that's why he looked tired all the time. Don't worry, boss, we don't judge here. Since then, theory had become fact. Red Hood, the merciless crime lord, was a single parent of, at least, 3 of the bats. That knowledge ran around a few weeks until new information added up. Fatima was peacefully doing her round. Today her shift was calm, since Red Hood was doing paperwork. Her only work was to watch out for any intruders. She was monitoring outside his office door walking from one corner to the other when she heard muffled voices from the other side of the door. For a moment, she considered leaving and not sticking her nose into anything she didn't need to, but curiosity won over her as she carefully put her ear to the door. "Come on! Everyone's gonna come! It's gonna be great!" A voice she recognized said. It was Nightwing, who was barely in Gotham these days. Why would he possibly be in here? Fatima just prayed that she didn't have to actually fight him. "You're making me want to go less and less. Every statement that comes out of your mouth," her boss answered with a tired tone, almost as if he had already had a similar conversation not too long ago. "Please? Why don't you want to play Twister this Sunday? What would you do anyway if you don't go? Crime lord shit?" Exactly. Really, Red Hood sounded like a tired father. Well, he is, but he can't possibly be Nightwing's dad, can he? You're so boring. Well, I'm sorry I'm boring just because I don't want to go to a reunion where everyone is a competitive shithead and eats fast food as if the real competition is to see who gets their veins obstructed first. Wow, okay. Fatima could practically hear the eye roll from the blue vigilante. "Whatever, Dad. No need for a personal attack." Fatima almost gasped in surprise, but holds herself back as to not be discovered. "If you change your mind, you can always pass by. Don't be so grumpy and pass up quality time with your family." Fatima felt bad for both of them. Maybe Hood was too focused on his work to care about anything else. "Also, why is your office so big? And why is everyone here so indiscreet? If you're going to be nosy, at least be more discreet." Nightwing shouted the last part, and that was Fatima's cue to leave. The Red Hood gang had just finished doing their weapons trade. After finishing up, they go home. Since both of them live in the same apartment building, Gabriel and Allison decide to walk home together. They can see their boss still doing work in the distance. It's a little game of theirs to watch their boss and guess what turn he'll take next. However, it is interrupted when he gets closer to their street and a cloaked figure launches at him, making the two of them land inside an unused apartment from the building close to the one Gabriel and Allison were heading towards. After a quick debate, they both decide to go. After all, it's their boss who actually gives a shit about their security they're talking about. So, they climb up the emergency stairs and hide a small distance between the stair railing and the recently broken window that none of the neighbors had wanted to repair. Half hidden, as to not be spotted, they decide to listen. "What announcement is so important that you throw me off the fucking air?" Red Hood was standing with his arms crossed in front of the two vigilantes. Where had the second come from? Black Bat and Spoiler. Well, Spoiler had grabbed Black Bat's hand. "We're officially dating." "Okay, and the news is?" Wait a second. Their boss had just spelled out a bad joke, with the clear intention of annoying the vigilantes. With such an obvious punchline, even a blind person could see it from a mile away. Did he just say a fucking dad joke? Red Robin was kind of the one who set us up, so he was the first, and then we told Oracle. Then we went to Bloodhaven to tell Nightwing. By the time we got back, both Signal and Robin already knew. And then we told Birds of Prey. Alfred already knows, even before we started dating. And then, I get it. Just stop. Hey, at least you knew before B. That got a robotic laugh out of Red Hood. Well, I'm glad you've got each other. It was about time. But seriously, don't fucking scare me next time. No promises. And both girlfriends get out of the room through the window, passing above Gabriel and Allison, scaring both spectators. "I know you two are there, just don't tell anyone what you saw." They just ran away without looking back, ready to tell everyone what they saw. It had been about 3 months since the call that made the goons finally understand their boss's relationship with the Bats. Although, they still have a very important unanswered question. Idiot, Batman isn't the boss's son. They're obviously siblings. William screamed, stomping the floor as if to prove a point. "I'm telling you, they don't give me that vibe," Fatima replied. "Could we just stop talking and work?" Jonna was annoyed by the idiots he had to call coworkers. They were delivering a very delicate drug, one that at the slightest glimpse of humidity lost all of its worth. But, of course, these morons he had to coexist with didn't care. Because of their incompetence, or at least that's what Jonna thinks, the Batman landed right on top of them and started attacking. Thankfully, their boss also appeared and started fighting back. Why the fuck did y'all bring popcorn? Jonna asked his co-workers, who, in fact, started eating popcorn while Red Hood and Batman were continuing their fight. That had somehow moved to a rooftop? If we can prove tonight that Batman is our dad's son, you owe each of us $20. Denise said, drinking a soda that had appeared out of nowhere. Jonna just responded with a sigh and a weak, fine. It wasn't like the vigilantes could be stupid enough to reveal important information out in a public space. Or at least that's what he thought, until the physical fight had turned into a verbal one. And suddenly, he felt like he was in high school again, with immature teenagers gossiping, and an inseparable duo screaming at each other over stupid things. He was almost falling asleep at the whole show, until Fatima shook his shoulders frantically and pointed up to the rooftop, just in time for him to be presented with his boss yelling at Batman. I'm tired of you. Go back to your stupid-ass grave and think about your behavior. I don't want to see you again. Meanwhile, the fucking terror of Gotham looked like a kid who was told to go to bed. But no butts off my turf now. William, Fatima, and Denise had the whitest grins on their faces, while Jonna cursed God's sense of humor. Shit. Now he owes $20 to like 100 different people. God, he really hated dysfunctional families. Today was a relatively peaceful day. Jason was organizing some paperwork, and why lie? He was bored as fuck. At least he was, until he heard people knocking at his office door. After he gave permission to come in, he saw approximately 50 of his employees. At first, he thought someone was attacking them. Then, he thought someone must have died or been kidnapped. However, he didn't expect when Jonna, one of his most hardworking men, pulled out a coffee mug with the phrase, "Best dad in the world." He felt his face heat up under the helmet. Thank goodness he didn't take it off. But at the same time, he was confused. Happy Father's Day! Everyone yelled. Yeah, that didn't help his confusion at all. Alexander got closer and gently pulled out a drawing of him surrounded by the crime alley kids he visited frequently. Everyone was looking at him expectantly, with wide smiles on their faces that could rival the ones produced by the Joker's laughing gas. He took it as a cue to speak. Okay, thanks? Is this because of them, or... He looked closely at his employees, and the badly hidden drawing behind Denise's back. You. Yes, was all he received from Julie. And don't forget the bats, Denise added, while pulling out the second drawing, one of him surrounded by his dad and siblings. The Red Hood choked on air, and everyone got worried their boss was having a heart attack, since he must be old enough to have one of those from Surprise, until the man gained his composure. How could I... What? Jason muttered uselessly. Don't worry, boss. We know the truth, but no one is snitching, William said, assuming his boss's surprise was fear. How did you get to that conclusion? Jason immediately regretted asking, since all of the goons jumped to talk at the same time. He could barely pick out some of the things they mentioned, like the carpet call, dad jokes, homework. He tried to keep his calm until he clearly heard Jonna say, "You were literally grounding Batman a fucking month ago." That broke him. I'm 22, you idiots! He punched the table, as if to prove a point, and ignored everyone's shocked stares as he continued. And Batman is like twice my age. How could I be his dad? Better question. How could he be my son if he's my fucking dad? Finally, he looked at his employees' faces, just to realize what he had just revealed. So, with the most professional sounding voice that he could pull, he continued. However, the gifts are appreciated. All of you can retire and go on with your tasks. All people present, except Jason, still had shocked faces as they got out of his office. How did it even have so many people inside? Jason could have sworn it wasn't that big, while he pretended to have everything under control, even though he was freaking out more than a high schooler who had just talked to their crush. Maybe he needed to stop being so overprotective, or just stop being useful to his family, a voice inside his head said. He remembered all of the incidents that happened these last months, and he wanted the earth to swallow him up right now. But hey, at least he had a new mug. Reader's notes. I did some minor editing for, like, grammar and shit. And I did, like, slight changes as I read to make it easier to read aloud. Yeah, that's about it. The Tumblr post that this is based on is in the notes. The notes below. And I apologize for any cat noises that have been in the background, because they are loud. Okay.